So you are afraid of something.
Death is.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Welcome to the madness.
We are the Mouths of Madness, your new favorite podcast for horror movie reviews. We're coming to you live tonight from the Dungeon of Doom. This is our episode 38 on the 1999 The Ninth Gate. My name is Kevin, and let me introduce you to the other members of Madness. First, we have Dan. Dan, are you excited to cover this movie tonight?
Bro, I am so excited to cover this movie. I got my occult robe nicely pressed and fresh from the dry cleaner just for this episode.
I was going to ask if you're naked under there, but I don't know if I want to.
It's a surprise. It's a secret.
Next, we have the mayor of Halloween Town. Wait, where is he, guys? Have you seen him?
Hey guys. Hey guys.
What do you got there?
Gentlemen, I present to you the collection of the finest, the choicest articles of horror artifacts from horror movies that has ever been collected. It took me almost my entire fortune and years of going from shady go-betweens and bribing and doing whatever it took to get these artifacts into my collection. And I present it to you gentlemen tonight.
It smells like a grandmother's basement in here, Bearclaw. What is this?
Oh, let me get in here. Oh, are these the glasses from They Live? Let me try these on here.
They are.
One of the lenses popped out. Bearclaw, I don't think these are. I don't think these are it.
No.
The Temu guy said that they were, so I have to take his word for it. Yeah, I have to trust them.
I don't know.
Yes.
All right, let's see if we got any more things we can pull out here. Hang on. Whoa, what is this?
Ooh, is that?
The note on it says it's McCrady's J&B bottle?
That's right. That's the bottle that infected everybody in the thing.
Well, let's pop it and see if we can maybe smell any J&B on here. Wait a minute. This doesn't smell like J&B.
Smells a little bit prudent. Ew.
Ugh. Yeah. I don't know, Bearclaw, if this is
That's what they said.
I don't know, man.
We have to authenticate these.
It's kind of looking like piss in a bottle, if you want my honest opinion.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It smells like piss a little bit. Oh God.
Well, gentlemen, here, this is one of my prized possessions, really one of the crowning achievements of the collection. It's Tim Capello's dog chains from The Lost Boys.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, that might actually be worth
Behold
something.
their glory. You can feel the music and Riz coming, just radiating from them.
And it went down.
Wait a minute. Wait, Bearclaw, is that Tim Capello's sweat on there? I don't know if that's Tim Capello's sweat on there.
They said it was.
I don't know. His glistens more in the light of day. No?
Logan, get the Q-tips.
Yeah, I don't know about that, man. Let's look around this box. What the hell? Oh, what is this? It looks like a little flute. Oh my God.
Goodness. Is that the leprechaun's flute?
Oh, shit.
It is. It's straight from the Leprechaun. Spray painted gold.
I really don't want to mess with the leprechaun. I mean, I'll smoke some weed with him, but that's about it for me.
And then finally, gentlemen, here's one of the proudest and something that I'm going to need everybody's help authenticating. Dick Warlock's Lucky Jockstrap, used in the production of some of the choicest horror movies that have come across our eyes this season.
Dan, grab the gloves, man.
Bask in it, gentlemen.
Salad tongs.
Oh,
I think I'm going to be sick.
It's charred a little bit here. I don't know if this is authentic, but
Don't wave that thing in front of me.
Ugh.
oh my goodness, what a prize! What a prize possession this is.
Who buys this?
This
From
is
Dick
the worst.
himself.
The Dick Warlock?
Oh, it's a Dick Warlock production.
What is that on the side? Is that pubic hair?
Oh, for your wallet. Here you go.
Oh, actually.
There are a lot of other great horror movie podcasts out there, but what separates us from the other ones is that we're going to be giving you the older versus younger generation perspective. Myself, Dan, and Bearclaw were all born in the 1980s, while my son Logan was born in the 2000s. So this is the clash of the generations.
That might be our best idea.
Dang, we're living up to our reputation as degenerates. Break it down.
The piece de resistance.
I thought you were going to say there's a little piece.
The P to resistance.
He actually mailed that to me himself. It just was one letter. That one really wasn't that hard to get hold of.
He is a member of Madness at this point. Without any further ado, grab your girl with green eyes, pull up a chair, hold on to your straitjacket tight, and let's dive into the madness. We watched The Ninth Gate from 1999. It was written by John Brownjohn, Roman Polanski, and Enrique Urbazu.
Not Pazuzu.
Not Pazuzu. It's also directed by Roman Polanski. It is based on the novel The Club Dumas by Arturo Perez Reverte. Casting-wise, we have Johnny Depp, who plays Dean Corso, the great Johnny Depp. And what's cool about this is this was right before he blew up as Captain Jack Sparrow, right?
Yep.
This was also before Amber Heard pooped in his bed.
Yeah. True.
Well, we don't know if that.
Allegedly.
Bearclaw doesn't remember that.
Did you know Johnny Depp starred in 3 films in 1999? Can you name the other 2 besides
Sleepy Hollow.
The Ninth Gate? Sleepy Hollow's 1.
Edward Scissorhands.
That was a little earlier.
Was it something to do with a window?
Donnie Brasco.
Close. I'll give you one
I
more
don't
shot.
know. Any clues?
I wasn't alive, so.
This one's probably not very well known. It had Charlize Theron in it.
Oh, Jesus, that doesn't help.
Italian Job?
Now I feel like I know less. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to take a W or an L on this one.
It is the astronaut's wife.
Oh, yeah. It was an interesting one.
Would have never
I don't remember.
in a million years.
Pretty cool, though. He was pretty busy in 1999.
Yeah.
This also stars Lena Olin as Liana Telfer. What's really cool is she would go on to star in the movie Chocolat with Johnny Depp the next year. This also has Frank Langella as Boris Balkan. Do you know what he's best known for?
He's in a bunch of stuff. Frank Langella is like, he's always known as like, he plays a villain a lot of times.
That is
looks like a villain.
He was in Die Hard 3.
Die Hard with a Vengeance?
Wasn't he the guy? And I thought me and Dan watched this movie together. The thing I remember him from is he was carrying around a box or something in a movie
called The Box.
It's called The Box, yeah.
Where he's like telling people they'll get $1 million if they push the button or something like that.
But something bad happens in return.
Yeah.
So the movie I was thinking of was Dracula from 1979. He stars as Dracula.
As Dracula, really?
Damn, he with his balls.
And he's a good actor, too. He was also in one where he was like a diamond thief and he was training a robot to be a diamond thief or something like that.
Well, the reason why I mentioned Dracula, especially for this film, is he seemed very Dracula-like in this movie.
He seemed like
yeah.
Nosferatu-esque.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Hello, you traveler.
He always plays like a very serious, like authority type figure, you know, like.
I think it's his voice, too.
Yeah.
It's very authoritative.
he
He's a tall
sounded like
dude,
the dude
too.
from John Wick.
Yeah, you're right. The Ninth Gate had a budget of $38 million. Do you know how much it made at the box
How did
office?
that money go?
Feel like it didn't do that hot at the box office. I'm gonna say it maybe made, I'm gonna say 45 million because it was Johnny Depp and he was big at the time.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I was going to go like a soft 30 mil. I'll go a little bit higher. I'll go like 38.
Man, I didn't realize the budget was that high. I'm still gonna stick with my original number, 17 million.
I believe Logan's the closest. It grossed $58.4 million. So it made some money.
Wait, didn't I say 45?
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
I thought you
you
said
said-
35.
No, I
I
said
said 35.
Oh, okay,
Or
okay.
I said 38.
Sorry,
You
the
said-
win goes to Bearclaw.
Yeah.
That's right.
You get all those
Nepotism.
points in your...
All those points.
We should add them all up.
Currently on Rotten Tomatoes, The Ninth Gate has a 43% critic score and a 58% audience score.
That's a little bit lower than I would like, but you know what? It's not for everybody.
Not for everybody lends us to our good pal Roger Ebert.
Yeah.
I might actually like
Yeah.
Ebert this time. Let's hear what he has to say.
He
Yeah.
gave The Ninth Gate 2 out of 4 stars, so he didn't hate this one.
Okay,
Yeah.
you didn't hate that.
He said, while at the end, I didn't yearn for spectacular special effects, I did wish for spectacular information, something awesome, not just fade to white.
Okay.
Okay, that was kind of a weird review by Ebert, but I guess I guess that's what we take with him.
So not bad. You got to take one you can with Ebert.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll take the W with Ebert as much of a. I mean, it's still better than most other horror movies, but
I think that was his better review because last episode I didn't understand what the shit he was saying in the last
he was
review.
just like, I hate this. I hate that you made me watch this. And
He tried to spice it up with words
he
nobody
was
understood.
Yeah,
he was
nobody
like trying to
understood.
make like a poem or something, like a box without hinges.
So this was Bearclaw's pick for an episode. So Bearclaw, why did you choose The Ninth Gate for us to review?
I chose The Ninth Gate because it's one of my favorite movies. I see it very much as a horror movie. I don't want this to come off as snobby, but it's a little bit more of like an intellectual horror. And what I mean by that is it's not a slasher movie, but I still think there's a great deal of existential horror. I think there's a lot of things that if you engage with this movie, I think there's a lot there. And I think it's one of those that if you don't engage with it, if you don't really play around with it, if you don't explore some of its themes, then I could definitely see where it would be a slower movie. It is not the most fast-paced. It's not a thriller, so to speak. It's very much playing with concepts and philosophy, and working through that kind of stuff is part of the joy of this movie. I mean, and in many ways, why I chose this movie is everybody knows I have a deep love of cosmic horror. Because originally my pick was going to be Necronomicon, The Book of the Dead. But not a lot of our listeners can get to that movie. That movie is kind of a hard one to find. For cosmic horror, I thought this movie was really kind of a star pick. I would consider this to be, you know how you can mix horror and comedy? This is neo-noir and horror.
I like that.
It's a detective story, and you know, you've got everything. You've got the femme fatale and Leanna Telfer, but at the same time, I don't know how it could not be a horror movie when you've got supernatural aspects, you've got murder, you've got all of the kind of classics of horror. There is a fear and there's an existential dread and certainly a terror that I think kind of comes over you at a certain point in the movie, which I'll go into later. But I kind of wanted to open my review of this with a quote from H.P. Lovecraft, because I think that would be good. Well, like I said, I don't support H.P. Lovecraft's beliefs or anything like that, but I think some of the stuff he wrote was pretty cool as far as cosmic horror goes. The most merciful thing in this world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all of its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it is not meant that we should voyage far. And that is from H.P. Lovecraft, and it talks about how sometimes our ignorance can kind of protect us against the truth. And what we see Dean Corso throughout the time of this movie is we see him in kind of a search for the truth. And he starts off as very materialistic. Throughout this, I'm going to quote, I think somebody summarized the movie in a really good way. There's an article by David J. Roger, The Ninth Gate, Occult and Tarot-like Symbolisms in the Engravings by Aristide Torquia and Lucifer, plus wider meaning of the movie. I just want to cite him because a lot of his ideas I'm going to present here, and they're not my own ideas, but a lot of his writing on this movie really opened up how I think about it. And, you know, this movie is all about forbidden knowledge. And that's a big theme in H.P. Lovecraft's writing. And there's a lot of comparisons that David finds, you know, like between the Necronomicon and the Delimelanicon, and that's where a lot of the etchings for the Nine Doors of the Kingdom of Shadow came from. If you know about the Necronomicon lore, and, you know, Abdul Abhazard, who wrote the Necronomicon, could be seen as kind of a stand-in for Aristide Torquia. And the whole forbidden knowledge aspect of this movie, the opening page of the Nine Doors of the Kingdom of Shadows, let the light shine, the light of knowledge and the forbidden fruit. And I'm going to go a lot more into the themes as we go into talking about this movie, especially things like Plato's cave and the shadows and lights and kind of the duality that this movie discusses. And I think this movie can be entertaining at a very high level as just kind of an interesting kind of satanic Da Vinci Code, if you will. But I think if you really engage with it and really dive into some of the choices that are made, I think you can find a depth to this movie that I think is really good and really, truly horrifying, if you ask me.
I like that you brought this movie to us, Bearclaw, because I think in general what I like about our podcast so much is everyone has the ability to choose like movies for us to review and has their picks, and everyone kind of brings something else and different to the table. And what I like about your picks, Bearclaw, is they kind of challenge me a lot of times because they're not movies I would necessarily go out of my way to watch. I do remember I did check out The Ninth Gate a long time ago when I was really getting into like Johnny Depp. I saw him in The Secret Window, a movie we had mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's the Window one I thought came out this year.
So I went back and I saw a couple other Johnny Depp movies that had kind of a horror angle to them, and The Ninth Gate was one of them. I didn't really remember anything out of The Ninth Gate, so to me, this was like a first watch for me. I gotta be honest with you fellas, this is a movie I have no right in liking because it's very slow. The pacing's very slow. I was lost throughout a majority of this movie. Like, I'm asking myself questions, like going back, looking at what people said, things like that. Like, did I miss something? Like, what am I looking at here? Usually these movies, when they're slow, they're confusing, they really frustrate me, and I kind of check out of them. This movie, I didn't do that with. And I don't know if you guys have similar movies where like you can't explain why you like them really, but like you just like them. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And this is that for me. I think Bearclaw, you said something in our comments with like this being kind of a comfort movie.
This is very much a comfort movie for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I picked up on some of that too. And I'm not sure why, but I think the thing I enjoyed most about this movie is the mystery, the noir, like what's going on? Where is this going to lead? There's people turning up dead. Like, and I think along with Johnny Depp's character and Dean Corso, because he starts off very skeptical and really doesn't want to know anything.
Yeah.
He's just there to authenticate the books. But along the way, like you said, he wants to know the truth. He wants to know that forbidden knowledge. And so I became like the character. Me and him were going along together. Like, where is this leading? What's going to happen
What's
here?
happening? Yeah.
So I was engaged in it, and I got to say, I really enjoyed it overall. And Johnny Depp's acting, I think, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, usually a character like his, I'm not into, because he's kind of a rat, a weasel type of guy.
Thoroughly unscrupulous.
But I enjoyed his character. Like, I kind of saw an arc appearing, you know, even though I don't think it's like a necessarily movie arc where it's like you start from one thing and end up to a next. You did see the layers start to peel a little bit. And I think it was a realistic arc as well.
This isn't my first time seeing this movie. I actually saw it in the theaters at the time it came out. I'm going to lead with the bad and end on the good.
Okay.
The trailer is what got me to the theater, and 2 hours and 14 minutes later, the expectation I had based on the trailer were not met. I was promised a descent into hell, and I just got a snob circle jerk over books about the devil. Yeah, but it tells a story through the presses and the 9 gates and the copies, and if you pay it, no. You got about 105 minutes tops before I start escaping into my inner monologue or start falling asleep, unless you have a really great command of pacing in a movie. And the pace in this movie is at a snail's pace, and it ends so anticlimactically, which is like, for me, the biggest disappointment with a slow burn movie. I don't consider this a horror movie, and neither does Google. My last grievance is, why isn't Johnny Depp on drugs in this movie?
He looks like he is.
What is this serious acting nonsense?
He
He was fresh from Fear and Loathing.
It looks like he's straight out of Tombstone in this movie. He's
Well,
sweating like
this is
He's chain smoking like a motherfucker.
this is probably one of the last movies I think Johnny Depp's a serious actor in. So
I don't know. Piracy's pretty serious. Yeah.
yeah,
He's really dedicated to being an unserious.
What was that vampire movie?
A serious
he did?
character.
Vampire? Interview with a Vampire?
No.
Wait, he wasn't in there.
He wasn't
Yeah.
in. There was like a vampire movie that he was in that was really, really
Are you talking about,
bad.
you brought this up before.
This is
It's
the Dark Shadows
Dark
movie.
Shadows.
Yes, Dark
Dark
Shadows.
Shadows.
He was
Oh.
serious in that.
Yeah.
Seriously
Struck you as
bad.
serious.
There's no money in serious movies.
Yeah.
Seriously bad.
So what's your good? Do you have any good?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
The good is Johnny Depp's serious acting is a bit refreshing from all of his Tim Burton-esque characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the overall premise of this movie's portrayal of the devil as a great deceiver. Dean Corso is the perfect mark, as he is a bit of a con man himself. He swindles people out of their valuables by shortchanging the estimates and then flips them for a profit. The man lives in a shitty apartment, eats TV dinners. Like, this dude doesn't do it for the money. He does it for the sheer love of ripping people off.
You're a vulture, Corso. A vulture.
Who isn't in our business?
He's the
Understandable.
He's the perfect mark to be suckered into one of the devil's tricks. And it has a meta aspect to it in that the book is dictating what's going to happen next. And I think that the book is the devil incarnate, as I see it, and an interesting way to portray the devil as an abstract. And you're left with a sense of schadenfreude when these elitist stiffs self-own themselves.
I gotcha. Wow. Logan, I want to go to you. What's your overall thoughts on The Ninth Gate?
Okay, this is my first watch of The Ninth Gate. This film unequivocally demonstrates the importance of character craft in impressing the viewers with an emotional response to its content. The plot itself should be exciting to the audience and not overwhelm or underwhelm its own story. This movie does nothing to truly capture my attention, with the exception of a compelling lead and complex plot points. Johnny Depp is the best part, but his ending doesn't make sense, and I cannot actually stand for him throughout the movie when he does nothing that I like. He's not a very nice person.
Right.
It's very interesting to see what the movie divulges itself into, but it lost me very early on in the beginning. Every moment is very weird, and the pacing is off by a lot. The other characters are in for very little or way too long to make some instant coffee. The Mr. Angle's the bright spot, but it never truly gets there for me. It never truly gets to the point where I am, like,
Satisfied.
I think early on in the movie, I was interested in it. It got me a little bit involved because I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. I would try to give some hope to it because I don't want to give up on a movie early on. I want to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I gave it like 30 minutes. That's a lot. Like, it's just too much talking, too much exposition. Just like,
It is a lot of
it's like reading a
exposition.
book. It is literally like, here's a book. Like, there's too much.
Yeah, I could see that. There's a lot of information.
There's
that
too
you're
much
taking
information
in.
for it not to pan out and for it just to be like revealed in like some stupid way.
Here's my other gripe with it, too, is like, it is a great movie to go back and rewatch. But again, like, I don't want to sit through 2 hours and 15
Yeah, especially for
Like,
weird
it's-
pacing.
It's a lot. It's a lot of movie.
Yeah,
and
a long
to,
movie.
and it's, I think it's a big ask to go back and like rewatch it again and again and again to get the full concept
Picture
of
of
it.
I got it. Like, it wasn't
yeah.
like, it's not like a very hard thing to do, but like, I just think like they didn't understand like what they really wanted from it.
I have a very big hot take at the end of this.
Okay, we'll say that then.
And it's like, it's for me. Logan, I am very impressed. You wrote some notes for this episode.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I wrote that during Bearclaw's time to talk.
Well, regardless, it was
because
good.
I thought I should bring up some stuff. If Bearclaw's gonna bring in the hot stuff, I got it too.
Right, bring it right back. It's good to have a discussion for sure. You know, here's the thing too, is like, this is not a bad movie. It's
No.
like it's done really well. The cinematography is great.
Cinematography,
The
I didn't get into
acting,
that.
The
Yeah.
music.
Yeah, the music. I mean, it's all done really good. I have a lot of questions though, and I want to start
Well,
with
let's get into it.
I want to start with the big
Let's
one.
rip
here.
these open.
So the idea of this movie is Johnny Depp's character, Dean Corso. He is a book. What would you say?
Evaluator.
Like a book detective.
You're a book detective.
Kind of.
You see these guys, and they're really big on Instagram now, and I kind of watch them because I think it's fun. But there's certain guys in New York City who with Rolexes, right?
Yeah.
Because Rolexes are very hard to get a hold of because you can't just go and buy a Rolex. If you're looking for a specific type or a specific model of Rolex, there's like this series of individuals that you have to go through, and one guy just goes jewelry store to jewelry store. One jewelry store will tell him what they're looking for, and he'll go out and source it. That's kind of what Corso is, but with rare books. If somebody's looking for Don Quixote, like there are book people out there that want to have that first edition, and you see it on Pawn Stars too, right? Like a first edition of a book is way more valuable than the latest, paper pressing of it. And especially when you get into like medieval literature where they had very, basic presses and everything like that. And you get into books like that were illuminated by monks and things, those are very valuable pieces of history, and it's very difficult to find them. So he's kind of one of those people that if you're a rich, you want to have the original Don Quixote, you hire Corso. Or, like in the movie, if your grandfather was that person and he's checked out, you hire him to come say, hey, well, I got all these dusty books that I would sell, to the 5 and dime for, $10. But what do you think they're worth?
So the idea, too, at the beginning is he kind of rips that family off, right? With Don Quixote.
You'd stoop to anything.
For Quixote by Ibarra, you better.
Oh, yeah.
It took me a minute to realize that once he got into that bookstore.
You see the guy in the collector in the wheelchair, like, it's like, I'll give you $4,000 for this. Those books were probably worth $400,000.
Unscrupulous.
Thoroughly
unscrupulous.
Thoroughly unscrupulous.
Logan picked up on it right away because when you were watching it, Logan, you were like, oh my God, he's screwing him out of Don Quixote.
Because I knew how much that book was worth when I originally bought my book.
Yeah.
So I knew that.
It was
because mine is also worth a ton of money.
So we find out that Boris Balkan, who is a kind of shady character anyways, is paying Johnny Depp or Dean Corso to go and locate the other 2 Ninth Gate books, right?
Well, they know where they are, but he's got to authenticate his copy. There's only 3 copies. The rest of them were burned along with the author of the books in 1667. The book was written in 1666. All of the other copies of this were burned, so there's only 3 that exist in the world. There's the Telfer, there's the Kessler, and there's the Fargus copy. The Telfer copy, because the opening scene of this movie is, like any good noir movie, is
a death,
a death.
Yeah.
And a mysterious death of just a guy penning his suicide note, and then...
Okay, well, right away. Do we know why he killed himself?
Yes.
Doesn't specifically say, but I bet you there's some pretty good
He bought the book for his wife, right?
His wife made him buy that book, yeah.
And then later we see that she's in this weird satanic occultist sex cult.
If he ever finds out what his wife gets up to at these gatherings, he'll probably kill himself.
So I think you could put 2 and 2 together that he was so put off by it that he...
I don't even know. He might have just been miserable.
He looked pretty miserable.
What I kind of think of in my head is like he was just kind of miserable, and life wasn't going the way he wanted it to. Maybe she was threatening to take half of it, everything of his, and maybe he faced a life of poverty. In my headcanon, in one last fuck you to her, he sells the book and then offs himself.
Well, that kind of goes to Dan's point too of maybe why he killed himself, because he probably like realized she's in this sex cult banging a bunch of dudes, and like he's just her kind of money, sugar daddy sort of deal, right?
Yeah, my whole life's a lie kind of thing, and
like you said, so he sells the book as like a fuck you.
Yeah. He knows it's one of her most prized possessions. So he's like, hey, Balkan, you wanted this thing? Here you go, buddy. $10. Like, here's the bill of sale.
Yeah, Balkan never reveals how much he paid for it. We never really saw the bill of sale, even though Corso says he has.
Yeah, that's true. You never know.
My question is, right, does Balkan, unbeknownst to the audience, know that he needs all 3 books engravings to do the ritual at the end?
I don't think he knew that. I think the 3 books have existed, but I don't think anybody's ever compared them against each other. With the exception of maybe the Senza brothers. Right. They seem to have a lot of insider knowledge. They point Johnny Depp right to the differences in the etching.
That's another big question I have coming up too, because I think that will get us some different opinions too on the Senza brothers. So you don't think that Balkan knew from the start that he needed the etchings from all 3 books to do?
No, I don't think he would have hired Johnny Depp then, because what would he need Johnny Depp for? He knows where they are. He could source that.
Well, because I was thinking, like, especially in the...
Unless Johnny Depp was just a scapegoat for
Well,
him.
no, especially in the Kessler situation, she didn't want Balkan anywhere near the book.
Tell your client, who can only be Boris Balkan, to come and examine it himself.
So I was thinking maybe he chose Johnny Depp to get those etchings, you know, as a workaround, like a man in the middle sort of deal. So
yeah, I think you're right. I think he was like kind of the quote unquote civilized attempt to try and get them. You know, in my opinion, Balkan's the one who killed Fargus. Balkan's the one who killed Kessler. Maybe not like him, maybe he hired a hitman, but I think he's the one that's behind those deaths. Because, you know, when Corso calls him up and tells him about it, he's like, oh, it's so tragic. Like, he doesn't give a shit. He's like, yeah, I got the etching.
I don't even think he said that.
Right?
I think he legitimately just went, okay, get back on the job.
Yeah.
What am I paying you for?
right. Because he also made reference to Balkan on the phone. Corso thinks that the green-eyed girl is Balkan's. Right? Like his eye on Corso. So I think Corso at one point says, like, hey, you know, you don't have to have security. And Balkan's like, oh, I always have people watching my investments. Or
You're an investment of mine, Mr. Corso. I'm merely looking after it.
So, I mean, you're right. I thought from the very start that Balkan knew he needed all those etchings to do the ritual.
I thought he attempted to, and just correct me if I'm wrong here. I thought that he mentioned something about attempting the rituals and it didn't work.
Well, that's what Corso kind of makes fun of him for. He's like, why don't you think your copy's authentic? And he's like, something's wrong with it. And he's like, why? The devil didn't come?
Something wrong. You mean the devil won't show up?
And he was, and Boris and Balkan doesn't.
No, he doesn't
respond to that. He's just like, check it out against the other copies. Do your job.
I love too the little it was kind of a funny little nod to when Balkan's taking Corso into his private library for the security code. It's 666.
Yes. Yep.
And the elevator too. Deep, 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 deep.
Everybody get a Joe Goldberg thing where he's gonna
he's gonna put Corso in the glass.
Well, that's what I thought was gonna happen because I'm like, oh,
and see
freaky
what I love about
stuff locked up.
What I love about Balkan and what I love about the Guardian Angel is Balkan is the kind of person that would be putting this stuff together, but he would be putting it together for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I call her the Guardian Angel. I think she's maybe, you know, because she's kind of depicted on the last etching. I think she may be and this is not necessarily politically correct, but it's how the Bible refers, the whore of Babylon, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the devil, kind of not. It's kind of vague, but like she is there, I think, to direct Corso as the true seeker. I think Boris is already damned. I don't think the devil has any interest in Boris, to be honest with you. I think Boris is already going to hell. And going to hell, I don't think is what this exercise is about or what this game is about.
Boris is kind of useless anyway. He's kind of more self-indulgent, whereas...
He wants it for power. He's not seeking enlightenment.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Where this whole thing is going with Corso is, and this is kind of David J. Rogers' thesis, I think this is the thesis of the film, is Corso is kind of directed towards enlightenment. Mm-hmm. It's not about enlightenment for Lyanna Telfer. It's not about enlightenment for Balkan. It's about power or trying to grab things or trying to become invincible or trying to, you know, be above everybody else and lord over everybody else. You know, Balkan standing on his tower looking down on everybody. Oh, don't you get dizzy? No, you know, and it's because he wants to lord over everything and be like something. But that's not the point of the gates. The point of the gates is enlightenment.
It's not power.
It's not power. Yeah. It's spiritual. It's not material. That's where things go sideways for Balkan.
Gotcha. And then so Lyanna Telfer, who is the wife of the guy, is Andrew, I think.
Yeah, Andrew Telfer. That sounds correct.
Who kills himself at the beginning.
Yeah.
She wants the books for just a sex ritual. Like she's not into like necessarily like bringing Satan in.
I don't think. I think she wants
just horny.
I think she wants it as just like
she wants the nookie look,
something that gives her life meaning. And I don't think she's after like true enlightenment. It's just more like some fixation on ritual.
It's a status symbol in her occult society as well.
Yeah.
She does it all for the nookie.
That's what I was thinking at the ending there, where they're in that satanic kind of cult and she's reading off of the pages or whatever. And they have all those people in their robes and stuff.
Yeah.
And they seem like they were naked under, so they're ready to do some nefarious activities. Yeah, so I was trying to think, like, she's not in it necessarily for bringing the devil into the world, right?
If there was some type of great game, she would be the third place, but so far in the third place, she wasn't even in the race. Like, she's an awful human being, sure, but she's in it for, like, I don't know, like, she wants to be the head of her cult. She's kind of doing it as, like, the bad girl, like, wants to lead orgies, but, like, she's, like, in a rubber hit the road kind of way, you know what I mean? Whereas Balkan is, like, all about it, you know?
I don't know, she seemed pretty feisty, though. I mean, she seduces Johnny Depp.
Well, she's, like, the femme fatale of
It's
the
Johnny
movie.
Depp.
Yeah, who wouldn't seduce him?
Yeah, Johnny Depp seduced her, clearly.
I'll be honest, though.
Don't you usually have an automatic in your stockings or something like that?
I'll be honest, though. Johnny Depp serving cunt in this movie. Like, he is daddy in this movie.
I liked how he did the TV dinner in the microwave. He put the box in there.
Yeah.
Also, he
did not read the instructions.
No, who wouldn't?
He could have set himself on fire. We wouldn't even had a movie.
Johnny Depp never does.
I do love this scene, though, where she seduces Dean Corso, and then they're lying there, and all of a sudden it's like,
Where's the...
Okay, where is it?
Where's what?
Don't fuck with me!
I thought I already did.
Kitty's claws come out. She's like, "Are you trying to fuck me?" He's like, "I thought I already did."
Yeah, I love the yell by Johnny. She bites him, right?
Yeah, no, she scratches him. She
him
uses those
Yeah,
nails on Balkan,
Tom and
too.
Jerry.
Yeah, I love that scene. It was just like, what? The switch flipped.
I love it. That was like the highlight.
Yeah, little action there.
Johnny Depp getting Looney Tune attacked.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, I liked her character a lot, Lyanna Telfer's, because like she was kind of, mysterious, and like you said, it adds to this mystery over the garter belt.
All these
Yeah.
people
tattoo.
are freaky as hell. Every single one of them.
What about her bodyguard there? You think he was freaky?
Look at him there.
Yeah.
He is freaky as hell.
Probably
He had like
weirder than
the
her.
worst hair. He had the worst hair I've ever seen.
Listen, this movie did have some great acting, but he was not a good actor for whatever reason. What was his thing?
He was freaky.
He's just a henchman. I mean, he was just trying to. I don't know. He's like, I hooked up with this broad on Tinder, and I don't know. We've just kind of been going. She has me do some
spiraled
weird
out of
things,
control.
Now I gotta
spiraled out of
punch people
control.
and stalk them and do all this shit. I think it's funny in like older movies when everyone has a sidekick or like a hench person. I think that's so funny.
Everyone has a Bob.
Yeah.
It's like the Joker's sidekick,
Bob.
and that's his name.
Yeah, everyone
Yeah.
has a Bob.
Oh yeah, Bob. Yeah.
Bob, you're my number one.
Bob, remember, you are my number one.
Best sidekick. There's a book where he's like the main villain of the book.
Oh my goodness.
Batman.
Fighting
Bob's
Michael
Revenge.
Keaton.
It's like Alfred being the center. I want to get to the green-eyed girl, or as Bearclaw called her, the horror Babylon
Green-eyed girl.
idea. What are your overall thoughts on her? Bearclaw brought up the horror Babylon, right?
Yeah.
Her name is the girl.
This is the girl.
The girl, yeah.
Yeah, in the credits, she's the girl.
Yeah, because doesn't he call her green eyes, though? He's like...
Yeah, he calls her green eyes. She has green eyes. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on her. I mean, I know how I see her. And this is one of the things that I thought David was off on, because David J. Roger, because he kind of sees it as a competition between Corso and Balkan. I don't see it as that. I don't think it's a competition. He kind of puts her in the spot of like some type of like judge, or like somebody who's like judging the competition kind of thing. But like, why isn't she helping Balkan at all? Why doesn't she guide him at all? Like, she doesn't like...
Or maybe she did help him and we didn't see that necessarily.
Yeah, I guess, but she didn't help him enough, because he just seemed like he was on the wrong...
Be like another hour and 15 minutes to the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, I think we're okay with what we got. This movie doesn't
But
make
like,
any
she stops Corso from killing, and this is one of the best parts I think she's in, is when after Balkan kills Lyanna Telfer, she stops Corso from beating him with a giant candlestick, And this is one of the most important points in the movie because she stops him and she says,
"You're out of a job, it's over. What more do you want?"
"You're free and clear now. You can just stop. You don't have to go any further." He just straight murdered her. Fargus, everybody else that died, they're going to pin it on him. You're free and clear, man. You don't have to do anything else. You're out of this thing. Mm-hmm. And he could have walked away.
Yep.
He chose not to. He made a choice. Oh. And he needed to make that choice because the stakes wouldn't have meant anything if he didn't make that choice at that moment. That's one of the most important parts of the movie because he chose at that moment. She set it up so that he had that choice to make. And I think that's important in the context of things because the fly needs to choose to see it to go out of the bottle.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that. That's really cool.
Yeah, because this movie gets very philosophical in some ways, especially if you look at like its references to the light. Because a lot of the times I think of it, and I don't know if you guys know about like the allegory of the cave with Plato, where like you only see the shadows. It's basically a way of saying like philosophy is a way of seeing the true world. If you've been chained up in a cave ever since you were a child and all you saw were shadows of the real world, or the shadows cast on the wall of a cave, you would think that that is the real world. But if you were freed from your prison of the cave, you would go out and see, you know, the true form of things. You know, if you were out to see the light, you would live in a kingdom of shadows until you saw the light and let the light shine in the book. So is the kingdom the other thing I want to talk about? And maybe I'll wait for conspiracy theories, but we can talk more about it.
I think the most interesting scene with the girl is when she first shows up, because I think the train scene is what for me actually got me back into it, where he was like, "I've seen you before.
I've seen you before."
There's like a playful banter to it, and I like that, like within characters, because my big problem for me with the movie itself is the characters don't really interact the way I want them to, where I feel like they're very forced acting. While the two of them, it feels like it's more like they're playing off of one another. Like getting to know more about her is the more interesting manner of this movie, which they don't really dive into too much until like the very end. But I think what's interesting to me is every time she shows up, he's very put off by it, but he still dives into like the playful manner of like, what's her intentions? Why is she here? Like, what is she doing? Like, you're lying to me about stuff. Like he's getting paranoid more and more. And I think like her being added to the mix makes it more interesting for him.
You got a good point there, because I think a lot of the other characters' interactions in this movie is very guarded, because it's like everybody knows something, somebody wants something.
Like,
in
like, and she knows it too, but she doesn't have it as like, it's not as forced on, like, you can see on the other faces, you can see it etched on their face. Like, Balkan is, like, you can tell there's something off about him. Like, he's more sinister.
Oh, yeah.
The wife there, whatever, the cult lady dude.
Telfer.
She's horny as hell. You can see that etched on her face. But she's, like, I think it's more like, from the first scene I saw her, I was like, this lady is more, I feel like she's more pent up. Like, she has that shit, like, on lock and key, but she also, like, you can see it in her eyes. It's very, like, forcible, where you can kind of, like, tell how much she craves power in a way. Like, it's very passionate. You can kind of see it in Johnny Depp's eyes a little bit throughout this movie, where he wants more. He is desperate to find out answers towards the end, because, like, in the very beginning, he was kind of like, I want out. I don't want this.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he like keeps on going deeper and deeper, his eyes get more and more crazy, where he's becoming like more obsessed over it. Like he can't stop now.
That's kind of like Corso's arc is. He starts off like he's got this money, he's got this huge payday, he's going to be traveling around Europe. He goes to his friend. He's like, hey, I'm going to Portugal and France. I'm going to go fucking take this rich guy's money, and I'm going to be verifying this book. But then as soon as shit starts to go sideways, he starts to realize the kind of mess that he's in.
It isn't the money, I want out.
But then once he fully grasps, or at least grasps enough of what's going on, it becomes not just this job that he's doing. And he makes it very clear from the start that, you know, Balkan, you and me aren't buddies. I'm doing this for money and nothing else. And that's kind of how Balkan wants it. But it becomes about more for him.
Dan, what's your thoughts on the green-eyed girl there?
She is very captivating on screen. Whenever she has a scene, there's this mystique about her that I think you're like, whoa, like, what is she? Is she a supernatural being? Is she human? They kind of lead you along a little bit with some ambiguity, and then they kind of hit you with like some flying scenes and some green glowing eyes. But she's probably the most interesting character, in my opinion, in the entire movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Because she's so mysterious, you don't know what her motive is. Or anything to that nature.
She's almost like a second femme fatale.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think it's very cool when you have a neo-noir movie that's very played off with its characters and like what their intentions are, because when you are faced with an unknown, or not an unknown force, but like you don't know where your path is leading you throughout the movie. Like in any kind of like detective novel, it's interesting to have like different characters like that kind of are like kind of like a roadblock in a way. So like when Johnny Depp is forced to like confront all these different people that are stopping him or kind of leading him where he is, it's more interesting when you as like the audience are seeing these different characters interacting with Johnny Depp, because they're so off-putting. Every single one of them are so like abnormally weird, and like they all have different intentions. They're not like the same. They're unique.
I like that take. I gotta say, I was very confused with my own emotions when she was taking the blood from her nose and putting it on her Johnny Depp's face. I thought it was hot too, but I was like, oh, it's blood from her nose.
Because I didn't think she was. I thought she was hot from like the jump, where I was like, oh shit, like I like this, because this reminds me a lot of like Bond movies in a way. Like when she first shows up. When she first shows up without the supernatural element, I was like, this is a Bond movie.
She shows up, on a bike, right? Is that the first time we see her?
The train.
No, we see her in Balkan's class that he's teaching.
Balkan's class, then the library, then the...
I thought the train was more of a Bond thing, where I was like, this is more of a Bond thing, because like when they first interact
That's when they first interact.
When they first interacted, that's a Bond kind of play of like introducing the femme fatale to the main character.
And I know I've talked a lot about the kind of esoteric aspects of this movie, but one of the cool parts of this movie is how cool would it be to just like lone wolf. It goes back to the neo-noir fantasy of like being this lone wolf detective, like tracking down this mysterious thing with femme fatales all around you, traveling through Europe, you know.
I was thinking this too. I was like, Corso doesn't seem like he's got a life.
Yeah, no.
Like he doesn't have anything. So like,
well, from the very beginning,
except a box of Hungry Man that's burning in the microwave. He's got that.
He doesn't have an apartment anymore. But...
Yeah, I think it's safe to say this is like I don't want to say the ultimate fantasy, but for a lot of straight guys, this is like the kind of person you want to be, with a lot of femme fatales, like
and mystery and danger.
It's James Bond. It's every neo-noir detective.
So this movie is very much
drinking.
For like,
he's smoking every 2 seconds.
This movie's definitely for the nerdy, young kid.
I got a big question here. He's a fan of rare books and a book authenticator. Why is he smoking and drinking with these books?
Yeah, I know.
They all do, Dad.
Even the Senza brothers, they get ash
book. And they said that book's like over $1 million. Bernie there is like, this has to be worth over $1 million, and you're smoking bogues over it. Like,
there is a thing that I think I kind of picked up on. I don't think he gives an F about like the authenticity of it. I think he again likes to rip people off.
Thoroughly unscrupulous. He's in it for the love of the game.
So by him smoking,
you're right.
By him smoking, he's ruining.
He doesn't really care about it's not about the books and the love for the books.
It's about having that power, that control over the people's money
and the game of it.
I don't know. I think the books are important. I think the search for knowledge and being more knowledgeable and like getting one over on people because you're more knowledgeable, I think that's what makes
like Corso, an elitist type of idea.
Yeah, like he is purely about like the knowledge. Like he's not a materialistic person because he's making probably a good dime on a lot of these books, but I mean, he doesn't live a lavish lifestyle. You don't see him driving a Corvette or anything. Even those Don Quixote copies, you know, a couple $100,000 in 1990. I mean, that's nothing to turn your nose up to. I mean, you're not going to be buying a villa in France, but you're going to be doing okay. Much
That's
better
true.
than he's living. He's living in some kind of not, I mean, probably nowadays it's $1 million apartment, but I mean, back then it was kind of a meh apartment with he's not going out to eat or dressing particularly well, you know, he's just kind of, it's all about the knowledge and the elitism and knowing more and being able to get over on people.
I want to get your guys' take because Dan had said, like, to him, this wasn't very horror-esque, and Bearclaw kind of was on the other end of it. For me, I thought where, like, some of the biggest horror scenes in this movie were a callback to Psycho. And it's when he is realizing that, well, you know, he's attacked by a liana, but he's realizing that, like everybody wants this book now.
Yeah.
And he goes to the bookstore, the guy's dead hanging, and he grabs the book, but he's in that cab and he's trying to make it to the airport. And like just the way it's shot and like the paranoia, and they're going over to the
I get you.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like when what's her name in the movie
Is running with the money.
Yeah.
It's kind of more of a psychological thriller. It's not horror. Because horror to me is more, there has to be a theme to it. And this movie plays like a psychological mystery thriller. Like, it's not really a horror movie if there's not a lot of on-screen deaths.
There are
a lot of on-screen deaths. How I would say this is not a horror is that it is too abstract in its presentation and there's not enough horror element because of the abstraction of how the movie is played out. So it lends itself more to a thriller, noir, mystery, peppered in with some horror elements.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my counter to that would be that the horror in this is, and I think if you were to lob that at this, you would have to lob that at also at a lot of cosmic horror. Because sometimes in cosmic horror, it's more about like a pursuit of madness or madness slowly creeping in and kind of arcane knowledge. So I get that, but there's kind of an existential horror to this, and there's some truly, like, that castle at the end is truly creepy, like, and terrifying.
Yeah.
With the light behind it that's not the light from the sun. Like, that really,
I found that
gave me
ending
goosebumps.
Yeah, I found
you
the
know?
ending scenes in the castle very horror too. But yeah, I mean, I can see it either way.
And somebody's offing all these folks. I mean, there's more kills in this than there is in some of the Friday that they're.
Well, Friday the 13th, there's a lot of instant coffee. So.
They make instant coffee in this Bearclaw.
Yeah.
This felt very, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie, but Eyes Wide Shut sort of deal.
Yeah, very much like that. Eyes Wide Shut, I don't think I could defend as a horror movie, but this is very similar to it.
Yeah, but it still has like some of that, like what's going on, like what are they trying to accomplish, cult stuff like that.
Yeah.
I want to get to the Senza brothers. Here's my question, because this is a big thing.
Yeah.
At the end, we find Dean Corso goes back to the bookstore of the Senza brothers, and they're gone, right?
If they were there in the first place.
If they were there in the first place, and they're moving the shelf, and here comes the page that is the real page, because apparently one of the books was not authentic.
And I think the Senza brothers are the ones who did it.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Okay.
Whatever entity they were, because they also look just like the angel.
Oh.
If you look at the whispered in Wasted Breath Keeps a Secret, which is the third etching, you see that the angel looks just like the brothers. Who the brothers are remains, and maybe they were trying to hide the enlightenment that whoever would be putting the pieces of this together were seeking. And they were trying to hide it. So, you know, they go on and on about how expensive it would be to forge the whole thing, how it would take the most skilled hands to truly fool somebody, kind of like puffing up their own work. Like, nobody could do this except the best of the best of the best, and knowing that they had done it.
If this is a forgery or a copy with missing pages restored, is the work of a master.
And that they had achieved it.
I like too, they were pointing out like all like the little things in there and kind of giving breadcrumbs to Corso.
Yeah.
Too, right.
Painting, the binding, a magnificent example of 17th century Venetian craftsmanship.
Watermarks, ink, typefaces?
Yeah, because that's what I thought. Did you guys pick up on that, Dan? Did you think that the Corso or the Senza brothers were the ones that what's the word I'm looking for?
Kind of lit him on to the LCF versus
They were the match that started
ACT.
Yeah, and they're the ones though that ended up forging that book, right? Or no?
They ended up only forging one page. Of the book.
And that's why at the end too that the ritual didn't work for Bulkin, right?
I would say on a very high level, yes, but I would say
it didn't work for him because the devil didn't want it to work for him.
I would say the etchings
chosen, like you said.
The etchings are important, but I don't think the etchings are important in them physically all being in one place. Maybe I'm off on that, but the etchings are more important in what they represent, and the etchings are more important in the riddle that they represent, because I think they show a path, specifically Corso's path to enlightenment.
So you kind of have to follow that path.
It's more about the path and walking that path than it is getting, 9 pieces of paper together and drinking some blood out of a canteen and then lighting yourself on fire.
I don't know. That seems like a good plan.
That seemed to not work. There's 9 plates. Silence is golden is the first one. Open that which is closed is the second one. Wasted breath keeps a secret is the third one. Chance is not the same for all is the fourth one. In vain is the fifth one. The sixth one is I enrich myself with death. The seventh one is the disciple outshines the master. The eighth one is virtue is conquered. And the ninth one is I know now the shadow comes from the light.
I'm glad you went over all those because
and if you look, you can, and I don't know whether we want to do this on the podcast or not, but I would suggest everybody read that piece by John J. Roger, and all of the etchings can be seen in Corso's journey to enlightenment and the journey that he goes through in enlightenment. And one of the clearest ones is, like Fargus was the second one, which opened that which is closed. Like that's when Johnny Depp has that kind of revelation about the different etchings and stuff. It happens at the Fargus copy when he's examining it, and from the clues that were given to him by the Serza brothers, and that's when he kind of really begins to seek the path of enlightenment. And each one of those you can go through and they kind of show you his journey to that enlightenment, if you want to call it that, because it could also be a trap, because the devil.
I want to get to the ending. What were your thoughts on the ending? Because we have Balkan who basically lights himself on fire and thinks I am inevitable.
I feel the power surge through me like an electric current, rendering me capable of any feat of mind or body.
And I am the devil.
It doesn't work. And then the green-eyed girl bangs Corso. We get him who finds, and then Corso finds the actual page. And then he walks through the ninth gate right at the end.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the ending, Dan? Did you like it?
Like I said, my biggest gripe with this movie is that I like slow burn movies, but like if you take me on a ride and you just drop me off in the middle of nowhere, I'm gonna be kind of pissed about it.
Well, I hope you would be.
I also was kind of reading in a little bit on the director and his kind of thoughts on the occult. Roman Polanski is an expressed atheist. So he was saying that like he found a lot of this stuff kind of silly and comical. And in some respects, I find some of it to be more funny and amusing, like that Schadenfreude response you get with the dude who gets the book and he's doing the ritual and he's like, ha ha ha, I'm all powerful, and he sets himself on fire, and then 5 seconds later he starts screaming.
It's miraculous. I feel nothing at all.
2 seconds later.
Or the Baroness, like in the wheelchair with her tongue sticking out like dead, and then speeds into the burning. Like there's a lot of comedic elements to it that to me it's like I almost feel like there's this sardonic mocking of it as going on in there.
Yeah, for sure. I can see that too. I was thinking that too, especially with some of the way those scenes were portrayed, like a little like over the top. That's a good call for sure. Logan, what'd you think of the ending?
Weird as hell. I don't know. I think this movie kind of lost me in the very beginning, and I think the ending really didn't help by making it like worse, where I was just like, what the hell was that? And like it was weird. It was definitely weird. The best part of the movie was finally getting that sex scene, because I was like, Jesus Christ, just bone each other. Like the tension was crazy as hell.
Get the hose.
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't really understand much of like the Ninth Gate shit, but like it was fine.
Bearclaw, how about you? Did this play out good for you at the end?
This played out great for me at the end, and I think Ebert's thing is kind of short-sighted because really, and I think this is one of those things that you got to be a practiced cosmic horror fan to understand, because it's one of those things where, well, what did you want the end to look like, right? Like, did that even physically happen? I mean, I don't know. Or was he going through, you know, some type of enlightenment, or going through into a new realm of understanding? And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, he walks through the final gate, but I mean, like, there's not really a clear answer. And a lot of cosmic horror ends in a very similar fashion, because how do you explain the unexplainable? How do you explain enlightenment? How do you dance on the needle of on the head of a pin? You know, it's one of those things you can't really show it. And to me, it's kind of the creepiest part of it. And I think it's exciting. Like, did he understand a new level of damnation, or did he finally see some type of ultimate truth that you can't know or you can't see? Like, what did he see when he looked into the light of the castle?
Yeah, for sure.
Or the light of the Ninth Gate.
I was confused at the end, and I'll get to this in my hot take, but I don't know what an ending I kind of wanted. So to me, like, this was the ending we got. Like Logan said, we got the green-eyed girl banging Corso. That was pretty cool. And
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I was confused, but like, I was just along for the journey. So I was willing to go wherever this was going to go. And if it didn't go anywhere, I was okay with that too, I think. Yeah. I don't know. Time for Conspiracy Corner. You know what? I don't know if this is where to put this, but I found it kind of weird. And I know we didn't talk too much about Roman Polanski for good reason, other than what Dan said about maybe poking fun at the occult a little bit. But when we see the girl with the green eyes in the bar that Johnny Depp's in the hotel there, she is reading a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie.
That was also the book that Charles Manson read in prison.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of weird because Charles Manson is responsible for his wife, what's her name? Sharon Tate's death.
Manson wasn't married to Sharon Tate.
No.
Oh, Roman
Polanski.
Oh, yeah.
So it's weird that he would include that in this. Like,
yeah, that is a little strange.
That's unsettling.
Yeah.
That is very creepy.
My other conspiracy is, and this is something I really thought of, I did see somebody else bringing this theory up too, that Dean Corso is actually the devil. And he's trapped on Earth, and the green-eyed girl is the guardian angel for him, or she's like gonna set him free from his earthly binds.
Oh, and that makes sense with the final picture, because it's the girl, and then it's that devilish figure, the dragon. And Johnny Depp, like, obviously must represent the dragon in that photo, because it's them having sex and then in the backlight of the castle on fire.
And this is something, like I said, I had thought the ending was going to go where the reveal was he was the devil all along. And there was going to be some tie-in with, like, he's imprisoned in Earth and, like, can't remember he's the devil sort of thing. So
that's an interesting take on it.
Yeah, when I read this theory, it really hit me good, because that's what I was thinking all along. I'm like, okay, like,
yeah,
that's cool. No, I never thought of that. I like that.
That is
He's a dick. So.
Yeah, right. He's not a likable character at all.
Yeah, but he's not like, he doesn't kick puppies and shit. He's like kind of just a dick. Like, that doesn't mean he's the devil.
Like I said, he's a deceiver.
Thoroughly unscrupulous.
Kind of like the devil is portrayed
if
as
anything,
a great
he's
deceiver.
like Loki. He's like mischievous, I guess, and like not mischievous, I guess. He's just kind of like, again, he's just a dick. Like, he's not really like the devil.
I don't know. I like that though, because it makes me like kind of how the movie goes.
No, that is interesting. No, I think that's an interesting point of view. I certainly think it's possible.
Does anyone else have any conspiracies?
I have a couple. Well, my first one is it was always about Corso, which I kind of went on to say, like, it was never like this great game or anything. Like, yes, they call it the great game or whatever, but it was always predetermined. All of this stuff was set up for Corso, and he was guided through it. And where there might have been deviations, the guardian or the girl was always there to put him back on course or give him the chance to make the final choice, you know? So it was kind of always about Corso and his seeking of knowledge and getting him down to this thing. And one of the conspiracies that I think is interesting was the end there, the end goal. Like, why would anybody be trying to go to hell? I feel like going to hell would be a fairly easy thing to do. You know, it's a elevator hell, stairway to heaven. But it was one of the things is like, was it hell or was it enlightenment he was going to? And was he going to the kingdom of shadows through the ninth gate or coming out of the kingdom of shadows in the ninth gate by being like, this world is the kingdom of shadows, and he was stepping into the light behind the castle and back to the allegory of the cave, and he was stepping into the light of enlightenment and seeing the truth behind the world. Because, I mean, if you look at the devil's temptation and what the devil has tried to tempt, like Adam and Eve were tempted, you know, for those biblical scholars out there, Adam and Eve was tempted by the fruit from the tree of knowledge. And the devil was offering knowledge. And so is that what Corso is being tempted to? Is that what he's being drawn to? And is it hell or was it something else? And is this just the devil's temptation or is there some type of enlightenment that he's going to see?
Yeah, I like that idea. Like, because like the light represents enlightenment.
And if you look at the last one, I know now the shadows come from the light. And if that light is the light behind the castle, maybe he's going into it and not necessarily seeing the world. And, you know, this kind of goes back to Gnostic ideas and everything like that. But that we live in this world of shadows, he's finally going to see the truth behind it all.
Yeah, I like that.
As the ultimate prize.
I like that for sure.
Yeah, I gotta kill that spider.
Kill the spider.
Sorry, Nathan. 5-minute break. In the meantime, let's go back to the streets. I'm reporting out here where people are saying they're seeing a strong light in the distance. Bearclaw, what do you make of this?
I think it is very likely. I mean, it may be some type of sporting event or something like that, but I think we can entirely rule that out. It is very clearly the light of the devil.
Oh my God. Wait a minute, what's that in the distance? Oh my God, it's Jesus with a shotgun.
Any other conspiracies?
I have a conspiracy. I think, in my opinion, there are no villains in the movie itself. I think Dean Corso is the misunderstood character in this, and that the real lesson is that there are no like villains towards like enlightenment, and that like, you know, the only people that are really like, that really want it are the more power hungry. But there's no real villains towards this. Like, everyone's looking for something, but no one's really like...
Everybody's looking to fill that hole.
Everyone's looking to fill that hole. I think it's hard for us to like kind of like see people as like villains or not. Some people are just horny.
On to hot takes. My hot take is kind of something stupid. So I watched the ending, had no idea what happened, anything. And then I was like doing the notes, and everyone was like, yeah, he walked through the ninth gate at the end. I was like, oh, damn, I didn't even put that together. Ugh.
Yeah.
So my hot take's on me. Any other hot takes?
Yeah, I have a hot take. This is a very comfort movie for me. I don't know what it is about it, and I don't know whether it's just all the old books or that it's, you know, I know this movie inside and out, or, you know, it's just one of those things that it's just whenever I can't figure out what I want to watch, this will be one of those movies that I'll put on because it's like, I can't figure out what I want, and then like, depending how I'm feeling when I'm watching this movie, it'll kind of direct me to what I want to watch. If I'm like, oh, this is a little slow for me right now, then I'll be like, okay, I'm clearly looking for something a little bit more action-packed, maybe a little bit more comedic. But if I'm like really getting into it, I'll be like, okay, maybe I'm looking for something that scratches the intellectual itch.
About how long into the movie do you figure that out?
I don't know. I usually
It's like a meter right now.
Yeah, I usually watch most of the movie and end up not seeing another movie.
Dan, do you have a hot take?
I do. My hot take is Johnny Depp on mescaline would have made this movie's pacing faster and slightly more entertaining. That's it. That's the hot take.
Damn, I could see that. Make him more sweaty. Logan, you have a hot take?
He is sweaty as balls in this movie. I do have a hot take.
All
I
right.
think this movie is set up to have a sequel.
Oh.
I'm not saying that it should have a sequel. I'm saying it's set up to have one.
Okay.
And my question to ask for the gentleman here, which movie of the ones that we've already watched would you say should have gotten a sequel? And they have to be like one and done movies, like movies that didn't have.
Any of the ones that we've covered?
Yep.
Event Horizon.
Oh.
Should have gotten a sequel. Halloween.
One and done, Bearclaw. Halloween 2 happened, whether you like it or not.
Okay. Should have gotten a sequel. Come back to me. I gotta think about it for a second.
I have all the ones that we have watched down here. There are movies like Behind the Mask.
Yes, that's one I feel. I own the Leslie Vernon Before the Mask, the omnibus comic that is the script to the sequel. So I would love to see that be made because I think it would be really cool and something different.
Yeah, there are other ones like The Burning, Cabin in the Woods, In a Violent Nature, Dream Scenario.
There's going to be a sequel to In a Violent
Yeah, In a Violent Nature. Yeah, there's gonna. So it's not a one and done. Otherwise, I'd say.
Street Trash, Death Becomes Her, The Lost Boys.
Well, there's technically, straight to
technically.
video.
I would say for me, out of all the movies that we have watched that are one and done, I would love for there to be a second Get Out because there's only been one.
Okay.
I like that. I like that world that they built.
Yeah, that's a good idea for sure.
What would you call it? Get In?
I would just call it Get Out Part 2.
I think I downloaded the wrong movie.
Or I would say like The Burning.
One I've always pitched for a long time is an original to, or as a sequel to the original My Bloody Valentine. Not the remake, but a sequel.
I was going to put that, but
and
they
have Axel
technically
come
have
back.
one.
It's a remake, though.
Yeah,
it's not,
but, like-
it's not a sequel.
I guess.
I hate to say Dan's Event Horizon, but I feel like that's the best one for. There's the most there that you could make like an interesting sequel to.
It's almost like it gets a second chance. We were talking about this
Yeah,
like when we
that's a good point.
recorded
Yeah.
the episode. We were like, man, this would be great if they, gave a second run at it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's an interesting question to pop over to our viewers.
Yeah, let me know at the padded room at outlook.com. What movie do you think should have a sequel that doesn't have a sequel?
One and done.
Yeah,
One and done.
That's a great question for sure. For sure. It's time for our Hall of Slain. Our Hall of Slain are characters that have died in the movies that we review that would help us get through and survive a horror movie because we are the final girl. Are there any characters from the Ninth Gate that you would like to nominate?
Who was the...
I mean,
Liana
Liana Telfer
Telfer
might not be a bad pick.
She's hot as hell. A little crazy, though.
A little crazy.
I don't need a crazy girl. I don't need that.
She knows how
I don't
to
need
lead
that
a cult.
toxicity.
You know, she does what she wants to get stuff done.
Balkan is... I don't think Balkan... I mean...
We don't need that.
We don't need that energy. The Baroness?
Nah, what does she do? You know, old battle axe.
She knows a lot. She's met the devil.
Yeah, that's what.
You know, she's met the devil when she was younger. I'm trying to think. Bernie knows a lot about books. Bernie might not be a bad addition.
Maybe, but he would be like our library guy.
He'd be the librarian. He wouldn't.
Who's the guy in the
he wouldn't fuck.
fountain?
He wouldn't fuck us over unless it was for money, women, or a good percentage.
No, I wouldn't screw you unless there was a good reason. Money, women, business. Other than that, you could relax.
I liked Fargus.
The old man?
Yeah, he was playing the shit out of that piano.
It's okay if we don't have a Hall of Slain for this movie. It wasn't a traditional.
Yeah, I don't think there's
movie.
a strong character.
I'll take Fargus for mine.
You want Fargus for yours?
He can play the shit out of the piano.
All
Maybe we
right.
need that with Frog Brothers around.
Yeah.
We'll just have a
Anybody
party.
else? Are you all set with no one
It's going
coming
to be a
in?
no for me, dog.
Yeah.
All right. Fargus to Logan's wing. Gavel sound. It's time for hook, line, and stinker.
It's time for
Our hook is our favorite kill of the movie. Our line is our favorite line or quote in the movie. And our stinker is something funny, awful, or weird that happens that makes the movie either better or worse. I'm combining my hook and my stinker.
Whoa. First time for everything here on the Mouths of Madness.
It's Baroness Kessler.
Of course.
So just Stinker is her character?
Well, no. It's the death. First, she's got her tongue sticking out, right?
Yeah.
And Johnny Corso is trying to move her and just throws her into the fire in the other room.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Whoa.
Deserved.
Like, where did that come from? Oh, my goodness. I think Dan's theory is right, though. Like, because there is some satire with some of the scenes, and especially Kessler's death there. With
It's the most, like cartoonish of all of them.
Yes.
I think the fire makes sense.
I just laughed how she went fucking flying.
Well, it was
into
because
the-
of her electric wheelchair.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
just
Plus,
so funny.
It's kind of like Game of Thrones, you know? If they come back from the dead, you don't want them to be a part of the army. So you throw them in the hell, you throw them in the fire.
Kill it with fire.
No witnesses there. No evidence.
My line is,
There's nothing more reliable than a man whose loyalty can be bought for hard cash.
Yeah.
Dan, how about you?
My hook is Baroness Kessler. I mean,
Awesome.
Just look at that face. How can you not pick her?
Well,
It's ingrained in my mind.
Line.
Unscrupulous! Thoroughly unscrupulous!
Thoroughly unscrupulous. I love that scene in the beginning.
Witkin must be spinning.
Witkin. Stinker, the girl gliding down the steps to save Dean Corso. It's enough of a supernatural element for anyone to argue this is horror.
That's right.
There we go.
Bearclaw.
My hook is Balkan's death,
Ooh.
where he just pours gasoline on himself and lights himself. I feel nothing. I'm invincible. I can walk on air. I can do anything. Oh, you want to see another trick? I'm going to douse myself in gasoline. Even if the devil was there, he'd be like, dude, what are you doing? Like,
He's like, you gave me the Konami code.
yeah.
Did you think I would do?
I thought that was a good hook. The line is the Baroness says to Johnny Depp as he's leaving the first time he goes to the Baroness.
You don't know what you're getting yourself into, Mr. Corso. Get out before it's too late.
I'm afraid it already is.
And I think this is a really important line in the movie. At that point, he's too far gone. He's starting to believe in some of this. So my stinker is, and it's one of the only stinkers I have for this movie, is I can't fight that it's a slow and it's a long movie. I think that was intentional. Its pacing is not a traditional pacing of a movie, but I think if you engage with it and you really want to play around and kick it around, and I'm not saying that everybody has to or should, but if it is something that where some of it kind of hooks your interest a little bit, I think it's long enough where it gives the person that wants to do that makes that choice to engage with it. I think there's a lot there to engage with.
Logan.
my hook is Owen's death with the necklace. It was pretty cool.
Rihanna's death?
Yeah, the strangled one.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That creeps me out because of the
Vulcan,
star,
yeah.
like with her throat. I was like, ugh.
Yeah. Line.
I mean, do you believe in the supernatural?
I believe in my percentage.
I believe in my percentage.
Yeah.
Great line. Great one-liners in this movie. My stinker was the whole fight scene with her flying down the flight of stairs. Like, that was just like, it was really bad to watch. Like, that was the moment where I was like, I'm going to sleep.
Any honorable mentions?
Yeah, two honorable mentions. One is for line. It's
Mumbo jumbo! Mumbo jumbo!
Mumbo
I have
Jumbo
that written down, too.
as he walks in there. And then the other one is when the girl says, you know, you are free and clear of the murders. He just murdered Leanna Telfer in front of all these people, and he's free and clear of the murders. You don't have to do this anymore. And he goes, no, I do have to keep going, because it's that time where that's the choice. He could have been free and clear of it, but he chose to keep going.
This is my favorite line.
You're a vulture, Corso. A vulture.
Who isn't in our business?
You'd stoop to anything.
Dude, stoop to anything. Great line coming right up the elevator.
I like Bernie's quote too. What, you don't trust me? I wouldn't fuck you over unless it was for money, women, or a percentage or something like that. That's a good one. And then Bernie also has a good one when he's first negotiating with Corso, where he says,
15 for my children's sake.
You don't have any children.
I'm still young. Give me time.
I'm young. Give me time. I liked Bernie as a character.
It's time for our final rating.
They're gonna rate the movie. Well, will they rate the movie? The killer is great, the victim sucks, the survivor is in between.
What was that?
Our final rating system is Killer. It's our highest rating. It's awesome. We would highly recommend, and it is a must watch. Survivor is our middle tier. It was a good movie. We would probably recommend and has some rewatchability. And finally, The Dreaded Victim. It's our lowest rating. It's a bad movie. We do not recommend and has no rewatchability. For me, The Ninth Gate. I'm rating it as Survivor. I really enjoyed this movie a lot, and I kind of do recommend it for anyone who hasn't seen it because I feel like this has gone under the radar a little bit. I think, some of the things that are tough are obviously the length and the pacing, and that's why I can't really give it a killer. But I enjoyed the ride and the mystery, and I was confused, but there's a lot to engage with in this movie and a lot of questions, and it does keep you kind of interested, I thought, throughout. Johnny Depp is really cool in it, has some cool femme fatales like we talked about. So I think it really is interesting to watch, and that's why I'm giving it a Survivor. Dan, how about you?
I want to like this movie. It has good elements to it. It has a great story at the center of it. But for me, it's too long of a ride for the destination it brought me to. I find it underwhelming. I'm all for slow burns. But you gotta leave me with that holy shit feeling by the end of the movie. I also would not recommend this as a horror movie to check out because it's so far out in the periphery of horror genre that there are hundreds, if not thousands, more movies that I would recommend before it with stronger horror elements. I rate this movie thoroughly unscrupulously, a victim.
Mumbo jumbo. Bearclaw, how about you?
So I would rate this movie as a Survivor. Too. And I went into this knowing that this was going to be a Survivor for me because, when I give a movie a killer, I think it's required watching. You really need to watch it. I don't think this movie is for everybody. But I do think it is an interesting movie. I think there's a lot, if you choose to engage with the movie, I think there's a lot of depth to the movie. Like I said, it's a very big comfort movie for me, and it's got a lot of interesting aspects to it, and it's kind of fun to dive into it. I don't think it ultimately goes anywhere, but I think it's fun to kind of look at the etchings, look at the Latin, the whole book and detective and neo-noir aspect of it. I think they're all fun aspects of it, and I think it's something I would recommend to somebody, somebody who is looking for something a little bit more intellectual on the horror side, but still not. I don't think it's essential watching, so I give it a Survivor.
Logan.
I would have to say for me, this movie runs too long. The pacing is too much to really get into. The character study is very interesting. I think there are a lot of characters that I will say are very mysterious and have some kind of different parts to it. I think the plot itself is very weak, where I'm kind of not really as interested when it takes too long to get to an actual point where I'm here's something we can work on. There's too much going on at one point or another, and that's why I have to say this is not for me. It's not my kind of movie. It's definitely not a rewatch, so I gotta say it's a victim.
Nathan, our producer, gave his rating, and he said, Ninth Gate review, smoke, drink, book, wander, drink, smoke, book, drink, book, wander, bored, victim. P.S. Roman Polanski is a piece of shit. Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to say something before we get to our
I felt like a Winter Soldier.
I like that, Bearclaw, though, you chose this movie for us because I feel like it was something different and it gave us, like I said at the beginning, my overall thoughts is it gave me a movie I wouldn't necessarily go to that, I would recommend and I liked seeing. So I think it's cool that this was your pick for sure. We also asked you, our audience, what your thoughts were on The Ninth Gate. So let's check our Instagram, and that's at mouths.of.madness. James Shannon Morant, underrated horror movie. Horror cinema obsession. It's been a while, but if I remember, it left more to be desired for me. From J+, Love this movie. One of the rare instances where the movie is better than the source material is based on. Probably my favorite hangover movie of all time.
Oh my God, imagine watching this. Oh my God.
Daycray, Dot Black. The main character, Dean Corso, is named after two beatniks. The fictional Dean Moriarty from On the Road by Jack Kerouac and author Gregory Corso. Oh, the more you know. From Noose_Neck_1. Great movie. One of my faves. From Dark Prince of Halloween. Completely underrated. It's actually one of my comfort movies. Laugh out loud.
Yeah.
From Mike Freeman, 77. Great movie. I love the mix of subtle satanic horror and sly humor. One of Polanski's most visually appealing films. And then Mike also said, I like books. Modern Monstrous. The Woozy Wutsy? I don't think I've ever seen him in a horror movie, so I guess I'll have to find this now. And so apparently she did watch it, and these are her notes. It's gross that Depp made this movie with Polanski when he was on the run for raping a child. 2, this felt like a more boring and incomprehensible Da Vinci Code. 3, Corso was wildly unconcerned about all the people dying around him, which made the whole thing feel like a stupid dream. 4, this movie had promised, but in no way needed to be over 2 hours, and then movie probably would be more watchable if it was shorter. And then she also said, why am I the only person who doesn't like this movie in the comments section? No, we have a lot of different takes, which is cool for sure. James Shannon Morant, again, Johnny Depp made some good horror movies. He did, for sure. Maybe we'll cover some more because he does have a couple good ones there.
Yeah.
Scream Rant Pod, underrated little gem. And finally, from Dissect That Film Pod, a movie I always forget exists until someone brings it up. I also think of End of Days with Arnie when this comes up. That's all I've got since I remember nothing about this one except the fact that Johnny Depp's in it. Man.
Strangely, End of Days does kind of. I think they came out around the same time, and they both were devil oriented. So
it's the 90s for you, end of the decade.
Oh, that's cool. We appreciate all your comments. Keep them coming because we really love to hear what everyone has to say and thinks about these movies. You know, if you like them or if you don't, we want to hear it. So keep writing to us. Before we end the episode, we want to embrace the madness and let you all know what we've been up to. So this past week on Straight Jacket Talk, we recorded an episode on Jurassic Park, the original from 1993.
Oh, nice.
So I got the chance to rewatch that. It had been a while. Lo, can you do me a favor and give me a little Jeff Goldblum here?
Yeah, let's get into it. What do you want me to say?
The line.
Life finds a way.
I mean, this is one of my favorite movies of all time, and maybe one of the best movies of all time. And we talk about that in our review.
It actually did it.
Son of a bitch.
Actually did it.
And like, I always thought what was interesting about that is, I guess the book differs from us. I've never read the book on Jurassic Park, but
it's good.
Yeah, I'm told it's pretty good, but like
better than the movie.
They made the dinosaurs to look like what they thought dinosaurs looked like and did, not what dinosaurs actually were. So like that was like a whole big theme of the book, I guess. But that makes that much closer to a horror movie because it's like
it is a horror movie.
Yeah.
I want to propose a question to y'all that we kind of brought up in the Straight Jacket Talk review, because Steven Spielberg himself said that his purpose of making Jurassic Park was to make a sequel to Jaws, but on land. Do you think you see any similarities to that or no?
Very different, but like, I guess in a way, like it's a very different movie, but I guess.
I mean, there's several Jaws on land in that movie. There isn't a singular Jaws.
Right, there's not one.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what would have made Jurassic Park better? Hello, Michael Caine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Well, it's that whole thing about like man versus nature kind of, because in the movie, it comes off very much like these were dinosaurs that were brought back to life, not like genetic crazy experiments. So I can see where that kind of makes a lot of sense.
Dan, how about you?
I watched the Ocean Gate documentary that came out this past week on Netflix.
Oh.
It details the events leading up to owner Stockton Rush and other 4 passengers aboard a poorly constructed submersible that imploded during a dive investigation of the Titanic wreckage. When this happened a couple years years ago, I was enthralled by the news articles of it. So like to see the documentary of it, I was like, yeah, I'm fucking in. Let's go.
I just remember James Cameron and
him being like fucking donkey.
Yeah. James Cameron did a lot of films and stuff, but he's also
a submersible expert,
like a submersible expert, and has actually built like Deep Star, I think it was called, or something like that, where it was like it went the deepest part of the ocean that you can go. I think he manned it. So I mean, he was walking the walk, and he was like, as soon as they went looking for him, but I knew they were gone.
Yeah, like I think Cameron's submersible is like made out of like really, really dense metal, like titanium, whereas Stockton Rush's is made out of fucking carbon fiber.
Yeah. Well, and one of the kind of more macabre things, and I don't know whether this is covered, but the engineer for that was in front of the Coast Guard and the Navy and everything like that talking about it, and everybody told him not to go. Like, 100% of people told him like this is a bad idea. So I kind of think he might have wanted to be part of the Titanic legend, and that it may have been not just hubris and arrogance, but there may have been more sinister undertones to that, which it's, if you have 10 engineers telling you not to do something and you do it, I don't know. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like the whole point of this documentary is to exonerate the people that did work on there, because they tried every which way to prevent this from happening, and explaining to him like all the safety protocols. They set up this acoustic thing that would like measure like if there was any stress fractures in the holes, and like they like had like documented all of this stuff. A couple of dives he went down on, and like they're showing like the acoustic test, and all of the carbon fibers are snapping, and so that's telling you like the hole's about to break, and like there's just so much evidence pointing to him, just don't, this is a bad idea. And he's like, fucking freedom and do this, America, fuck yeah.
Do you recommend watching it? Was it good?
I mean, if you're interested in that story, yeah, go for it. I like documentaries like that, so.
No, like Mythbusters.
Bearclaw, how about you?
I have just returned to the Appalachian Wastelands in Fallout 76. I don't know, I'm one of the more hardcore Fallout fans. I love me some Fallout. Fallout 76 kind of has a kind of eldritch horror theme to it. Again, right back to cosmic horror, so I dove back into 76. While not my favorite Fallout entry, it's gotten better over the years. And yeah, I've just been kind of tooling around in that for a little while. And also the new Indiana Jones video game, which is pretty cool.
How was that?
Where you get to be Indiana Jones, which is that's
pretty
really
cool. You gotta
neat.
beat up some Nazis.
You do. You gotta beat up some Nazis and some fascists. You get a couple of different flavors of scum to beat up, and yeah, it's pretty good. You know, it's voiced really well. You start off in the opening scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where you're where you're in the jungle and you got to go through that whole temple with. It's pretty cool. And I rewatched that the other. I totally forgot that Alfred Molina, who's like the most British guy in the world, is playing a Peruvian in that movie.
I saw even the Indiana Jones game is getting DLC in September, so like they're already like they're trying.
Yeah,
to get
no,
shit
the game's a lot of. If you like Indiana Jones, I don't think you can miss that game. It's pretty much like it's pretty much like if they did a fourth or fifth movie, which they didn't. So you know,
never existed.
So they never went beyond that third movie. So this is kind of like this is it, which is really good. It follows the formulas of those other movies, so it's really quite good. So it doesn't really kind of follows the first three movies and kind of pretends the other ones didn't really, which is good. That's what I would have recommended. So.
All right, Logan, how about you?
So I watched a couple movies. So I watched the Predator movie, the new Predator movie on Hulu. It's animated.
Is that a movie or?
It's a movie.
Oh, okay.
It's animated though.
It's animated.
It's animated?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was animated.
So they made like a couple of these. So like they made like a Lord of the Rings movie that's animated, and I was kind of pissed off because I was like, oh, this is a new Lord of the Rings movie. I thought it was going to be a live action movie, and then they're like, nah, you know what? We're going to make
They aren't making another live action.
They are, but
movie,
I thought that's what it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Predator, Killer of Killers, great movie. I think that's like, you know, anime movies are tough. Like, it's not a kid's movie. It's very, like, different. For me, it was kind of, like, hard to get, like, really into it because I was like, okay, this isn't like a Disney movie. Definitely is not. But I actually did enjoy it a lot. I thought it was pretty good for what they were going for. I watched the Looney Tunes movie just recently. That's why I watched Predator movie too, is I'm trying to watch every movie this year released. I thought that was a really good movie. It's probably one of my favorite movies of the year.
Yeah, you've been talking it up a lot.
Because I think it is really good. The animation's really good. Everything about it, like, is just like, it's very nostalgic for me. Because, like, it feels like I'm back, like, in the Looney Tunes, like, era of, like, things. And then as for video games, I am getting right back into Final Fantasy, playing more Final Fantasy. That's my plan. I'm going to try to play them all.
Well, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Mouths of Madness on your favorite audio platform and YouTube. If you've enjoyed your descent into madness, we really would appreciate it if you would rate us 5 stars and leave us a review. You can find us on Instagram at mouths.of.madness. We have a great YouTube channel where you can check out all of our video content, including Straight Jacket Talk, our exclusive video podcast now, at Mouths of Madness. Finally, we have our email address. Write to Bearclaw at thepaddedroom@outlook.com and let him know if you're a fan of rare books.
Yeah, let me know what collectibles you have out there and what kind of props or that you may have gotten a hold of over the years.
Yeah. Do not lie to us about prices. We will know. We are no old men stuck in a wheelchair. We are old men stuck in a regular chair.
Stuck in the Dungeon of Doom. Yep. Well, that does it for our review on The Ninth Gate. But we'll be back soon with another episode, and we're going to be reviewing Logan's pick, Ghostbusters 2. But until then, back to the padded room with you.
All right, guys, I got one more thing. All right, boys, bring it in. One more thing that I found.
What do you have coming in here? Hang on, we got to open the doors here. What is this?
It is Demon's Porta-John from Friday the 13th.
Dang.
This is unscrupulous. This is thoroughly. I don't know how you got your hold of this.
It took a lot of different people, a lot of different Dean Corsos.
How was that smell?
Is that enchiladas?
Some damn enchiladas.
What is that? Do you hear that? Bearclaw, pry it open here. Oh my God, it's Demon!
Oh my God, it is authentic.
It's the real deal.
We're gonna be rich. Yes.
Ooh, baby.
Ooh, baby.
I'm away.